You're listening to the All Equity Podcast with Kevin Marcus Miller.
There we go.
It's lit. Yeah, bro.
Stuff,
but
man.
you know what's crazy, bro, is I just was on your IG. Something you said really hit, man.
What was that?
You said
what hit?
You said your word is wealth. Something about that just hit different today when you said that. What were you talking about? What was going on in your mind?
It's just thinking about this idea of let your yes be yes and your no be no. Say what you're gonna do, and then do what you're gonna say when you say you're gonna do it. There's so much in that of, our word is bond. Even if you're a person that keeps your word, you're someone that people want to do business with.
Right.
Like the reality is, it didn't matter how you set this joint up. I was going to be here at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 Pacific. No matter what, you had the recording ready. I was here 3 minutes ago.
Right.
On the dot.
On the dot. Ladies and gentlemen, literally on the dot. Not a second late.
Right. Not a second late. And I appreciate reminders. They're great. I use them personally. But man, when you are just willful about, my word means something. Like my wife, it used to would bug her early of when I'd be slow to say yes to something. And I would explain it. Eventually it just stuck to where I'm like, the reason why I'm slow to say yes is because when I say yes, it's done.
Wow.
Like now everything in my power is going to be pushing towards that yes happening.
It's almost like the universe. When you say yes, then it starts moving. So that power is like, might overwhelm some people. When you say yes, it really means it.
Right. I mean, if I'm saying yes, I'll do it, then I'm in. Even if I don't feel like doing it later. I said yes, that's it. Like there's been plenty of stuff in my life where I'm like, yo, I said yes to this. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, dang. And you know what? I'd get up. Somebody reminded me of what my word was. Say, hey, I got to come through because I said I would be there.
Have you noticed that being like something absent in our current state in the U.S.? Has that been like a factor that people have been, their word is not bond anymore?
Oh yeah. I mean, you see it all over the place of people not keeping their word, of them, it almost being like, hey, this is optional. It's a good idea. But again, think about the people in your life who you cherish the most, who you go to when you're really going through it. They tend to be people who keep their word. Just keeping it
like that. I never even thought
1,000.
about that, bro.
Right. Like when you think about it, like there's a reason why, like you'll hear people, oh man, hey man, shout out to mama, I love you. You know what I mean? Because normally mama will hold you down, like no matter what, in a lot of, circumstances. That's why people say that, because it's like, man, she's dependable. I know she's going to be there. If she says she's going to do something, she's going to do it. I'll just ask you the question. I mean, we just vibing, like we just roll however we roll with it. But think about it this way. If somebody in your life, you can bank on what they say in business, is that someone that you would like to do business with?
100%. And I think that person for me is my accountant.
Man, right.
Right off top.
Right.
Send him a text, it's done. There is no, well, what did you mean? Or I need to think about it, or that's a great option. No, it's
right. And that is a very important trait for an accountant. Like you need to feel very comfortable and confident that they're going to do what they say they're going to do, that they're going to file the stuff they say they're going to file, organize things, submit things, etc., on your behalf. So you get it. You get it. And yeah, that makes sense for an accountant. And if you start extending this beyond that to someone where you're considering doing work with, doing business with, and it's someone that they show up, that means something. I'll tell you this, and I actually had someone tell me this. It was earlier this year. I had a guy who said, man, Stack, I'm bringing a specific opportunity to you, which it is incredibly lucrative. Like, I'm telling you that the opportunity is incredibly lucrative, but the person was bringing this opportunity to me. And what he had to say was this. He said, man, the reason why you were the first person I thought of, like once he went through, like the maybe one or two people that were in the know of what was going on,
Right.
said the reason why you were the first person that I thought of is because I know for you, your yes is yes and your no is no. So it wasn't just that I had the resources, it's also, hey, I know that you're just going to keep it straight with me. If you say you're going to do something, it's done. If you say I'm gonna pass on it, I know that's the case, and you'll be straight up with me. You're not gonna string me along. Hey, yeah, I think I may be interested. Well, let me just see if I can get some ducks in a row or all that kind of stuff. I'm like, give me X amount of time, which it may have been a day or two.
Yep.
To chew on it, pray on it, sleep on it, think on it, and I'll give you an answer. And that's what I did.
Yep.
Yeah. So
let me ask you this, bro. When people go to your IG and they perceive you a certain way as successful, right? Depending on where they're at in their journey, whether they're, a 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure earner. Is that what it's actually about for you? Or is there something deeper behind why you're creating financial wealth for you and your family?
You already know. Because when you look at, you've seen my page, you've seen how I will post. I say this all the time. Wealth goes beyond your bank account to the person you are becoming. I'm gonna say that again.
Yeah, say that again. Hold on. That went over people's head.
Way back. Right. For the people in the way back.
Yeah.
I believe that wealth goes beyond your bank account to the person you are becoming. And that's in every way who you're becoming, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, and then financially as well. Because what good does it do if you've got great wealth, but your body's falling apart? What good does it do to have great wealth, but your relationships are terrible? You've got no one to share it with. You know what I mean? Like just this holistic view of things. And something I must say this is too, just while we're here, it's so important to build from worth, not for worth.
Okay, we need that again. Hold up. Break that down again.
So I said it's so important when you're doing this wealth building journey to build from worth, not for worth. If you come from a place of understanding, man, I already have value. I already know who I am and whose I am. I know what my identity is and what it's rooted in. From Jump Street, you've already got the mindset to build wealth taken care of, because now you're not going to do anything to build wealth, like in the sense of like by hook, by crook, I'm going to get it no matter who I have to step on to get up there, which that's a whole nother dynamic of if you're building wealth without the character to sustain you, all you've done is you've given yourself more resources to harm more people along the way. I wasn't playing today, man.
Wow.
I told you.
Hold on. I feel like my therapist would love that. Oh my goodness. All you've done is accumulate resources to harm more people. Wow.
Yeah.
Now I
But
got to process that in my own life. Let's put some filters on that. I'm
right.
trying to think of old Kevin. I'm trying to think of maybe some times when I did do that as a teenager. I'm sure there was.
Yeah. And see, the beauty of humility is to realize that we have harmed other people. That, you know what I mean? Like, it's okay to say, man, I've been toxic to someone else, and to own that and say, okay, let me not continue to be toxic or be less toxic towards others, which that takes doing the inner work.
What's some of that inner work you like to do every day? Like, what are some of those habits of building real emotional and financial wealth for you that you stick to every single day?
Yeah, so I'm a person of faith. So I mean that's reading the Bible. That's taking time in prayer. You know what I mean? Like, to really sit back and reflect, to self-reflect and say, okay, where am I at? What am I doing? How am I treating those around me? Here's one of the things that in America, it's so important to recognize this. We do not want to be a public success and a private failure. Now,
that hurt, bro. I'm not even gonna front. That hurt the ego.
Right. I mean, but you know what I mean? Like, this is what I mean when I say who we're becoming, because everyone wants to talk about generational wealth, but what are you teaching the next generation while you're accumulating the wealth? So I'm gonna put some numbers on it, because I'm an analytical brother as well. It said that about 80% of millionaires are first generation.
Right.
So for me personally, as a millionaire, and I've been a millionaire for about a half a decade now, when I hear that, I'm both encouraged and discouraged at the same time. I'll start with the good, and then I'll go to the bad. So the good is what it says is, hey, it's possible.
Right.
It's possible. You may not have come from wealth, but wealth can come from you. So
I like how you
that's
said
the first piece
instead of
right. You got that.
Yeah. So
that's a positive of seeing that the majority of people that hit $1 million of net worth, they did not come from wealth. So they were first generation millionaires. So that's a positive. But on the flip side, what this means is that 20%, that only 20% of the people are effectively passing it on to the next generation. So if you catch them what I'm saying, because if you're saying 80%, right. Because if you're saying 80% are first generation millionaires, then why aren't we continuing to keep the wealth in the family and building on top of it? Which that's why I say you got to do the inner work and do the self-reflection and saying, okay, what are some of the bad habits that I have that I need to be mindful of? We're not going to be perfect. I always say, man, it's about pattern over perfection.
Right.
That's what you want to aim for, is, hey, more often than not, this is how you move, to where if Kevin's not doing something that he normally does, people are just like, they're not like, that's just Kevin. Kevin's just always late. That's Kevin. He just always da da da. If something's off, they're like, hey man, this is odd. That's not like him. He doesn't usually move that way. And people will give you grace because they're like, hey, that's not the pattern of how this brother moves.
Crazy you said that. That happened to me last week, because I had a family member in the hospital, right? And so that was like the first time I ever had to reschedule an interview, because I got a phone call 20 minutes prior from the hospital, and then I had to call the interview guest and was like, yo, I can't do this right now.
Right.
And there was so much grace there, and I was processing why. why there was so much grace. And that's exactly why.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's because you've built up a habit and a pattern of, hey, when I say something, I do it. I'm gonna be there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there. And there was a post that I had made. This was a little ways ago, not too far back, where I was just talking about this idea of, hey, it's okay if you slip and fall in the mud. Just don't stay there. Don't wallow in it. That's what pigs do.
Woo!
See what I'm saying? Get up. Don't stay there. Brush yourself off and keep going.
Right. That's real, bro. Wow. I always feel better talking to you because I feel like, I don't know, man, it's hard to, the way I see it is, one, I see a lot of myself in you and who I want to be in the future, but I also know you see the same thing. You see a younger version of you in a lot of ways, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the other thing about it is Black men in particular, there are certain things that people just do not understand about what it really means to scale your business all the way to 7 figures. That is a very, there's a lot of roadblocks that other people just do not understand. What are some of those roadblocks that you've experienced so far that people might not understand that are, related to race?
So just some of the fact that people could look at you and say, just because of the hue of your skin, this may be an inferior product, inferior service, that you may be less knowledgeable about the subject matter that you're going to speak on. And this is, man, I'm going to make sure I say this for the people who are listening. This is why it's so important to build from worth, not for it. Is once you have centered it on the inside that, hey, I know who I am. I know what my worth is. I know what my value is. Even if someone else doesn't recognize it, that's on them. That's not on me. You know what I'm saying? Like, my mentality is, man, I don't have to prove myself. I am proven. Like on Instagram, for example, I'll use a social media example. So now they have a feature to where you can hide the number of likes on a post if you want to.
Yeah.
This is no shade to the people who do that. Like, please don't take any judgment in what I'm about to say. I'm just speaking for me. I'll never do that. Here's why. Because it doesn't matter if people like it or not. Like, I know what I'm speaking about. Like, it hits different when you know what you're doing, when you're certified. I'm like, yo, I could just shut the whole account down if I want to. It won't change what's the reality of my situation. But that takes time to build and have that kind of inner assurance of, yo, I know who I am.
Inner assurance, self-esteem.
Right.
Wow. What was like the building blocks for you to get that inner insurance? Like, what was the recipe for you?
There's so much. Obviously, I'll lean on my faith roots. I'll lean on just historically. Like, I pay attention to history and where people that look like us, what they have come from, like the resiliency that has been exhibited over time. Man, I was talking with a friend about a week ago. I was reading some Frederick Douglass, and I'm like, it blows my mind every time I read the stuff this dude was saying in the context that he was saying it.
Right.
Like, for the listener, just read what he had to say about the 4th of July and then look at the date of when he said it. I mean, it'll blow your mind. So, when I sit back, I'm like, man, I come from a stock of people who, despite all of what society was saying, they knew who they were. And we know it by their ability to fight at every single corner and crevice of history to get what was due them.
Mm-hmm.
So I pull from those people in times where I'm like, oh man, you know, where am I at? Do I want to keep pushing and saying, man, I see where I came from. Like so here's another one for you. I'm only 3 generations removed from slavery. Like, a lot of people think this stuff happened like way, way back a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
My great grandfather was born in 1859 on a slave plantation. And then one of his sons was born in 1897. That was my grandfather. And then his daughter, his last kid, my mom was born in the 1940s. And then you got me, born in the 80s. So this isn't ancient history for me. I can look at my own family and see what has been lived through. So I draw strength from that. I draw encouragement from that, to keep pressing forward in the day-to-day.
This kind of remind me of one of those conversations that comes up a lot. And I did have someone bring this up, especially white folks, that listen to this podcast. One in particular had a comment, and their comment was, I like what you're doing, but I don't agree with racial equity or affirmative action or things of that nature, because they said they feel like everyone should build their own wealth without any handout, and it can be done for anyone. What's your thoughts on that?
What I would say is that is I'm going to be polite in how I say this, a gross misinterpretation of what our history has been. Affirmative action, if I just go through just the different aspects in history where we had handouts given to majority culture, like, it's littered with that. You've got the Homestead Act that just gifted land to people that were white, that people are still benefiting from that to this day. The GI Bill, which was surrounded around, you've got vets coming back from a world war, and Black people intentionally were left out of receiving what is believed to be one of the most transformative bills. I mean, it helped build suburbia as we know it, as far as getting these soldiers education, because the thought process was, hey, these people are literally being trained to professionally kill people.
Mm-hmm.
We're bringing these folks back into society. We want to reintegrate them in. So we're giving money to help you be able to get educated and get, meaningful work, and having money towards getting housing. Think, Federal Housing Administration, FHA, like all these different things that people of color, and particularly Black people, were not included in intentionally. So it's just a either a misunderstanding, or possibly it could even be just flagrant ignorance. I don't want to take the worst case scenario. I would just say many people just don't know of where things have been to get us to the place that we're in right now. Another thing is, honestly, a lot of the affirmative action efforts tend to benefit, the numbers say, white women more so than anybody, which white women, these are just the statistics, overwhelmingly marry white men. So it's still a benefit that doesn't necessarily always hit who people think it hits.
So why can't Black people just build generational wealth by themselves then? Why can't they just be like LeBron James, right? They just got to work hard, right?
Right. I mean, in a Like,
try not to laugh, but
right. I mean, so in a capitalistic society, you're going to have people who are going to break through. Exceptions tend to not disprove the rule. If anything, they tend to accentuate it of what all is actually happening, which that's actually something for me. I'm incredibly humbled by the success that I've had, but I don't turn around and beat people over the head with it. And I won't let people use my success to beat other people over the head that look like me. There were so many things that I was incredibly fortunate to have. My parents are still together. They've been married for 51 years.
Wow.
Like that's incredibly.
Wow.
Right. Like that's incredibly fortunate for me. That's something that I didn't have any control over, of them being committed to one another and what that did for me.
That's
to
a huge
be able to see
deposit to that emotional bank account. That's a huge deposit.
Right. Wow. Absolutely. Just to see that alone. I mean, the statistics of just having dad just be there is incredible. Of just there, like could be basically absent-minded, but just was there. But my dad was actually active. Like he would come to sporting events or different extracurricular activities. So getting to have that kind of support, that mattered a ton. To have something like that, that my parents had at a minimum a basic understanding of money to teach me and my siblings, hey, live within your means. Don't spend more than what you make. Save some money for a rainy day. Now people call it an emergency fund.
Right.
But back then it's like, hey, you want to have a rainy day fund just in case. Now we didn't even really talk investing at all. Like it was, a bank CD, that was pretty much the depths of it. So
where did you grow up? What state?
I grew up in South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah. Grew up in South Carolina. And we didn't, I mean, my parents, they didn't know about that stuff, and it wasn't really any fault of their own. And they were in an incredibly, graciously blessed space, the way they were able to move, and were incredibly generous people, which that's another thing that was big, is they talked about giving, being generous, thinking about others. But yeah, the whole investing conversation, I mean, that was something I had to really go out and learn for myself. But one of the greatest joys as a son was to be able to come back to my folks and talk to them about investing and encourage them in just what does this look like, and how does it work, and how does money work, and things like that, which was really awesome to be able to do that. So,
was that weird at all, or how'd your dad feel about that?
it took a little bit. It took a little bit.
Keep it 100. I know.
Right.
I know it's
Right. It definitely took a little bit to really get him thinking about it. Of, hey, Dad, I know you work hard for the money you make.
They work harder than
awesome.
Us.
Right. Just getting it, and like, man, I'm thankful for that you put in this work, Dad. Like, I've gotten my work ethic from you. Let me talk to you about having your money work just as hard, if not harder. Like, you don't have to have everything be swapping time for money. Right. And so it's definitely a blessing today to hear my dad be excited and talk about income that he generates from an investment.
Wow.
You know what I mean? In his now 70s. Like, it's so cool to see him being that kind of space, or talk to my mom about just investment minded things, and siblings. And
are you the youngest or the middle child?
I'm actually the youngest. I'm the youngest of three.
Yep. Usually the youngest, I've actually found this to be pretty true. the youngest or the middle child, they tend to in the universe attract each other. Mindset.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a mindset thing.
Interesting, man. That you might be onto something with that, man.
Yeah.
You might be onto something with that. Coming up for me, being the youngest, my mentality was, man, I want to learn as much as I can from my siblings that are going out ahead of me, and how they conduct themselves, how they went through school, their relationships, you know what I mean, like all that stuff, to help to better inform me once I got there of how I wanted to move, because wisdom is more than learning from your own mistakes. The best kind of wisdom is to learn from others' mistakes and successes.
Do you feel like your brother, like, do you have a brother or sister?
Yeah, I've got both a brother and a sister.
Okay. Do you feel like your brother, like, at this stage in your career, you know, as established as you are as a financial coach, do you feel like they look up to you now, or do you feel like it's still the same dynamic as the younger brother?
Oh, so yeah, no, especially if we're talking financially, they're looking my way, and it works well, man. It honestly does. With my brother being older, like, he's got children that are older than mine, so I get to glean from that.
Wow.
Of seeing how he does that, and getting to talk to him around things financially, to encourage him there, and same for my sister, and her son, of just trying to encourage them, of saying, hey, this is stuff that I know, and have done, and want to help you in this space to be able to win.
Simple money talks. Simple money talks, bro. Come on, man. So these conversations, these money talks you're having with your daughter.
Yes.
Where is this really coming from? Is this the generational wealth playbook, or is this therapy for you? What was the process of creating that book?
I'm glad you asked that with the book. So it's Simple Money Talks. Yep. It's around money conversations I had with at the time, my daughter was 8. Now she's 9. Really, really and truly, even though it's a money book, for me, it's a love book.
I expect that.
And right. And so the thought process with it is that, I talk with my daughter about life.
Yeah.
Like, we'll just have conversations. She's incredibly smart, very inquisitive. And so we'll just have conversations about life, but we also weave money into just our conversation. So in the book, I take 3 different stories, 3 different accounts where we just talked about money, and I just walk people through those conversations. And then at the end of each story, I give some practical application from the story of, hey, what's something you can take away from this? And what's even practical ways that you can possibly talk to your own children. But even if you don't have kids, if it's a niece, nephew, cousin, it could be someone who's older than you, because the principles in there are still rock solid, no matter how old or young you may be. And I said it's a love book because ultimately it's me wanting to communicate in my love as a father to my daughter around things that are important, such as life and money, to have a healthy perspective on it, that it's not everything, but it's not to be dismissed either.
Money's not everything, but it's not to be dismissed either. I feel like I really would have benefited from a book like that when I was her age. For real.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. Just to see it. I purposely have her listed as a co-author. Her name is on the book because I want to shatter that proverbial glass ceiling that says that you can't, by saying, no, you can. Because I believe that I stand on the shoulders of those who came before me. So you won't hear me say that I'm a self-made anything. I'm building off of the people who came before me. And so I want to prop up those that come after me. And so that was some of the thought process, help ease it into where she's comfortable talking about money, that it's not a scary thing. It's no, okay, yeah, I got to save some money. I've got, I want to save some, I'm going to give some, I'm going to spend some, and I'm going to invest some. And that's just normal. So by the time, I mean, if she's 9, if you triple her age and now she's 27, that's it's almost 2 decades worth. Well, really it's more than that, because we've had conversations before she was 8, but you know what I mean? Like that's decades of conversations and just being comfortable with money and money management and being able to pass this thing on, because I don't want her to squander it. I wouldn't want my potential grandchildren, if she's able to have them and wants them, to squander it after I'm gone. You know what I mean? Like generational wealth isn't just making it. It's also giving the tools and equipping to be able to handle it and grow it.
I was just reading something about that, because like you're saying, a lot of millionaires, they don't seem to have the method behind scaling and keeping the money for long periods of time. It's more so like, let me get in this Facebook ad with this Lamborghini, show you what you want to see. And all this, okay, let's put the pretty girl next to the car. And then, why do you think that stuff even works?
Man, I think people are, there's a lot of people who are addicted to wanting to look wealthy versus actually be wealthy. I mean, that's my simple take of what I'll see, because wealth, it takes time. It does take discipline. And
also, I noticed you're not flashy either.
I'm not.
And
I'm not.
I think that does say a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm super chill, more low key.
Yep.
With how I move, and it's okay to like nice stuff.
Right.
Just don't let the pursuit of nice stuff rob your future. That's all I say. Man, if you want to have a nice car, have a nice car. If you want to have a super nice home, have a super nice home. Just make sure you're stabilized financially before you get those things. And of course, it's a free country. You can do whatever you want to do. If you say, hey, I don't care, I want to get them right now, you can.
Give me that.
You know what I mean? Right. You can. Yeah. It's just, I like to speak in the realm of what are the things that are more so tried and true that help people to build wealth over time and keep it.
So for all those people out there that don't want to hire a random Facebook guru, millionaire, whatever, online, where can people, one, soak up game from you? 2, what type of people do you want in your circle as clients?
Great question. Well, so for the first, you can find me on IG or Facebook. It's just at Stacking with Stack, and that's Stacking with Stack, which literally Stack is my last name. So I get that question a lot. It actually is my last name, and even the reason why I chose that was, it's like, yeah, of course you're talking about stacking, building wealth, but it's also, hey, let's vibe, let's talk. It's not just about, hey, let's work this strategy and this is how you build wealth, but also, hey, what's your mentality? How are you approaching things in that realm? And an ideal client for me is someone who says, hey, I'm willing, ready, and able to learn, that I'm motivated, that I'm not necessarily looking for get rich quick. But here's the funny part about it. It can happen quickly. It can. But having a mentality that says that's not what I'm hunting for, it'll help you to get to where you want to go. So yeah, I would say that, or just people who have that type of a mentality that, hey, I'm committed, I'm ready, I'm tired of doing it the way that I've been doing it all this time. And that they want to talk to somebody who's actually done it. So not just I read the book about it, I listened to the podcast. No, I've done it, and I am continuing to do it.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, the legend himself, my man. This a lot of people don't understand, but in a few months from now, y'all are gonna see exactly why I look up to this guy so much, why he's such a role model and a powerful person in my ecosystem and my emotional bank account. Financial coach, the legend, the man, Stephen Stack, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks for tuning in to the All Equity Podcast. Until next time.